there is a gap, a fundamental void in my generation today and generations coming after me in terms of finding their true sense of purpose and meaning. And what I mean by that is in previous generations, when we were a more Bible heavy society, a more quote unquote Christian society, we would point to God filling that void or Christian communities filling that void. But now we've become so individualistic and humanistic in nature that we've forgotten a biblical worldview almost entirely. And so, in such a me centric or egocentric culture where all it is about me and my happiness and what I want to do, it tends to isolate ourselves and we become very alone in this world that is daunting in and of itself, and even more daunting if you are not rock solid in what the Bible says about you and what God says about you and who you are. And so we look then to fill that void with other things, whether it be relationships, job, money, whatever it may be, and all of those things satisfy only to a point and still leave us longing after something that is bigger than ourselves and something that can only be filled, in my argument, by the cross of Christ in salvation. And so when we start to pursue other things, it leads to a lot of other problems, mental health issues, stress and anxiety and depression and things like that are at all-time highs in my generation and the generations below because we're striving after all the wrong things. At least that's the argument I'm going to make. And so there are certain things that, we struggle with, whether in terms like Josh, like you mentioned, um, worried about, where we're going to live. Are we going to have a good enough job? The cost of living is a lot more. There seems to be more pressure on us as a society to grow up quicker. There's a famous book out there, all grown up with no place to go, and so we're just growing up a lot faster and unable to meet the demands that society is putting on us. And part of that comes from again not having a biblical worldview, but part of that also comes from policy that has failed us through previous generations, where we have to identify what the problem was and how do we fix that moving forward, so we can make sure that we're setting future generations up for success.